What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank, and today I'm going to talk about African women. African women. I'm going to talk about various different types of African women, just in case there are African Americans or African diasporans who are interested in African women. And specifically, I'm actually going to talk about West African, Central African women, but I believe this really goes, we're really just gonna stick to Central and West African women specifically, because they don't get highlighted enough. I don't think they get highlighted enough, and I don't think they get highlighted properly, right? And that's the problem. They're not getting proper representation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain to you the different levels, depending on what your mood is when you go over there. Depending on what you're looking for, how it's gonna work in real life, how it really works. Okay. So let's say you just want to go over there, you're young, you want to soil your royal oats, right? You want to have a adult experience. You're young. All us men do it. We all do it, right? It's fun. That's what men do. That's what males do. They go and do that, right? So if you want to do that specifically, and let's say you go to a place like Nigeria, if you're hanging out in the modern areas, you're going to run into people who are exactly like you. Okay, now I want you to listen to what I'm saying. They're going to be exactly like you. They're going to look exactly like you. Nothing will be different. I don't care if you're light skinned or dark skinned. I don't care what part of America you're from. That you're going to look exactly like them. There will be no distinguishable differences at all, right? So if you don't talk, everybody's just going to treat you like a Nigerian, period. I don't care how unique you think you are. I don't care how much Indian you think you got in you. I don't care how much European you think has influenced the way you look. You think you look so distinct. When you go to Nigeria, everybody is going to look like you. Okay? So you don't get special treatment immediately. See, when you go to East Africa, everybody's going to think, because they're different. Because remember, Africa is the most diverse continent in the world, right? We all know it, but we don't think about the consequences of that. Like, what does that really mean? We say it, but do we dig into what it actually means? Which means there are various different phenotypical looking and genetically different people that encompasses a group of people we call Africans. Okay. and we're different. Some of us are taller, some of us are shorter. We got different skull shapes. We got we are mostly similar for the most part, but we still have little differences that we can see slightly, right? Even though you can still go to any part of Africa and see any type of phenotypical African in that portion anyway, because we moved about. We were already mixed up. It's just that we have different variants of genetic material, but we do congregate, as globs of groups of people in certain areas, right? Just so happen the West African, specifically the area that we call Nigeria, which is really a whole bunch of nations, right? That's what African Americans need to understand when you talk about Nigeria, you talk about Ghana. You look at these places like these two big countries, right? But understand those are the European lines. And Africa is very old, and these groups of people are very old. And they have their own lines, right? In their minds, their cultural lines, their ancestral lines, right? And it goes over the lines the Europeans made, and that caused a lot of conflict, right? But these people are different. So when you say Nigeria, it doesn't mean one type of person. Nigeria is the entirety of Africa, because it's the Fertile Crescent. Look where it's located. Look at the greenery. Everybody traveled there. That's everybody from the south. That was the middle. That's the spot. That's in the middle. But to the west, because that's the coast. We like to live by the water. And then there was a massive ocean. Massive inland lake. I think the Chadian Lake. I think that's what it's called. It was massive at one point, right? So we lived around that. So that was a massively populated area. Everybody came there to fish. I mean, eat fish and farm. I mean, the lake was so big, it was kind of like the Great Lakes. It was like that, but bigger. Like, we're talking about an ocean inside of Africa. A lot of things happened there, right? Just recently because of global warming. But this is seasonal because this happens in Africa all the time, right? So the greenery will come back. It used to be green, remember? So because the sand, I know I'm going off, but I want you to pick it up because I want you to understand me. Because that lake has shrunken so much, right? People were forced to go closer and closer to the rivers. There's lots of rivers you see. Is the Fertile Crescent, West Africa, Central Africa. That's where all the minerals. How do you think minerals and diamonds and jewels made? You know what I'm saying? Think is material, is organic material, right? Over time and pressure. So anyway, Nigeria is a whole bunch of different type of people. Why do you think there's so many languages? You think that everybody just woke up one day and say, you know, I want to speak something different? That's how many different types of people there are. So when you go to Nigeria as an African American, you blend in automatically. You know, the only thing that's going to have you stick out is your American clothing, if you have something extraordinary that they don't see often, or when you talk. That's it, right? So if you're a male and you're going over there, you get no initial special treatment like you would in East Africa, where if you went to East Africa, you look like a Nigerian. You look like a Nigerian man. They're automatically going to think that you're Nigerian, or they may guess that you're an African American. And that gives you a couple points off the bat, but it's not going to give you as many points, you know, as you think. It gives you a couple points, but it doesn't give you as many points as you think. You know, East Africa, yeah, you get a whole bunch of points because Nigerian men are famous and fawned over in other parts of Africa. So if they believe that you're a Nigerian man, they are going to fawn over you. You got those Nigerian man points. But if you're African American, you get an extra point because you're like they know you're a Nigerian. They know who you are, right? You may not think they know, but they know. Those ones, they know. They know who you are. You get an extra point, but you know, over there in East Africa. So that means you got an advantage, right? Off the break, you get the automatic look advantage either way. And then once you start talking, you get the extra point. And then bam, after that, you got to have some charisma. You got to actually have personality because African women need men with personality, right? So if you have problems in America with African American women, right? When you go to Africa, you're going to still have those same problems with the African women, right? And that's just how it's going to be, right? So if you're going just to have fun, then you're going to have to pay for it. All right, and there are places, just like every country has places you can pay for it. You just gotta figure it out, right? Because no woman because you get those initial points, but you're gonna have to take them out on like these are African women, the same ones that you have in America, just over here, and they just have the culture we don't have anymore. They still have the old cultures that we come from, so they still hold themselves a little differently. Now, you as an African American, you are allowed to approach them. If you're like, let's say you're in the mall or whatever, you can approach. It's safe to approach. Now I know it's a little difficult in America to approach because of the culture of America makes the women, they're not approachable, right? But over there, it's the same African woman, but add the approachability, all right? And you get your 2 points. So you got approachability and you got your 2 points. So you can come at them with your lines. You got some cool lines. Because Nigerian men, they're romantic. Nigerian men are funny and they're romantic. They win the women by making them laugh and being romantic. They say sweet things. They do the romantic things. That's how they get them. Even if they playing games, that's how they get them, and they take it seriously because they're allowed to do it. They don't get. They still have the freedom over there in Nigeria to speak like men. Nigerian black men get to be men. So when you go over there as an African American man, you're allowed to be like an African man, right? Like you are the apex male predator in that land. That's you. You one of them because they accept you wholeheartedly. They don't hate because you're one of them. They know you're one of them. So you don't have to worry about the male hate. Like in the other countries, when you go to other countries, you worry about the male hate because the males, other males, and this is probably people get mad. Other males in Africa are jealous of the Nigerian man, right? Because just for some reason that Nigerian man he does something different, right? He got the music, he got the the style, he got the swag. Everybody copies the Nigerian in Africa. They're the trendsetters on the continent, the men and the women, right? The giant of Africa. But Africa, right? The culture of Africa, Nigeria, is like a African version of African American culture, right? And see, African Americans think that Nigerians are copying us, right? Even though they do admire us, but they know that who we are, we're them. They know that. They know we're Yorubas, Igbos, Hausas, Fulani. They know that we're the tribe. They know who we are, right? And they always knew that. They know that, right? So you just don't know they know that. So when you come there, you get the points, you get full acceptance, and you get the ability to approach women, but you still gotta have game and charisma. You gotta make them laugh, and you gotta be funny. Just like that's black women, they need that. You ain't got that, you're boring, can't deal with you. I take your money sometimes for a little bit, can't deal with you. Right now, if you're rich, you got money, they ain't deal with you. Just like the ones here will deal with you. Like I said, a black woman, I mean, if you balling, if you got resources like that, they'll tolerate you if you're nice and they know, and at least you're safe, and at least you're stable. They'll tolerate you. They'll figure something out about you. They'll figure it out later, But that's a good bet for them. In Africa, same thing, right? So even though you got your few points in, you're still going to have to meet all the criteria. And then we're talking about, let's say, the city developed areas. But let's say you want a more traditional woman, right? You want to actually one to marry, one to keep. Well, no. Let's say not a tradition. Let's say you want a modern but culturally connected woman in the city, in the burbs or whatever, right? The ones that got good jobs and stuff like that, right? It's just like approaching any girl in like I said, it's like approaching them. And what they're probably going to do is they're going to show you that they have the skills to be a wife, period. And it doesn't mean you're going to get some, even though you have an opportunity to do, because the women there, something I need too, but the ones you want to marry, they're not going to give you anything. So if you go over there and you're looking for a wife, you need to go find someone that's not going to give you any, but will cook you a meal, right? And introduce you to her brother. She's going to introduce you to a family member. If they're interested in you, they're going to introduce you to a family member. If they really like you, they're going to introduce you to their mother and their father immediately. After they figured out they like you, they're going to introduce you to their parents. You'll be going over there for dinner. That's how, but you'll never get any. You'll never get any until you meet the parents. That's usually a woman of class that you're looking for a wife in like the city, urban metropolitan areas. That's probably how that's going to go down. Now, of course, there's going to be given. Some people are going to get some, just like it happens. But for the most part, for the majority of attempts, that's probably going to be the average. A woman who's going to do such things like that. Now, let's say you want to go more tradition. You want to go out a rural area. For my Southern African Americans, let's say you want somebody that's similar to the old way of the African American Southern belle, that they used to have back in 80s and 70s and 60s, back when you had the Southern belle, who y'all used to love before they became hot girls, right? Now you may want to go out, if you're looking for a wife. You're not, first of all, if you go out there, you're not going to find any temporary companionship. That's not going to happen. Once you get outside the city, that's not going to happen. You just might as well just don't even think about that. I mean, unless you know somebody, unless you already got a hookup somewhere and you got some nasty, just and you wouldn't even want to do it. If you can find any girl that's going to do that out there in the rural areas, you probably don't want to put your thing in there. I'm telling you right now, just letting you know. But you go out in the rural areas, they have plenty of women who they're more on the traditional side because they're country. So they're going to match a country man more, those kind who like those country women. They're going to have the countryness, but it's going to be an African version of countryness, not a European American version of countryness. The culture will be, if I were to say it was like anything, think about the Japanese ancient culture, right? The komodos, the tradition, the pageantry, the bowing, like literally the bowing, the kings, the chiefs, the whole, just think about a Netflix movie, a period piece, and just think about that. And think about an African ancient original version of that. And that's what you pretty much got there in various different beautiful African forms, right? So it's probably the most exotic thing you can ever really see if you want to see some real African culture out there, because you're going to see everybody, because all of the tribes of Africa are there. They're all there living together. The modern day names that you hear of these tribes are made up. A lot of them made up names by the Europeans. There was kingdoms we came from. We were snatched from kingdoms. Kingdoms are metropolitan areas. The same way we have capitals of countries, right? Capitals of countries are metropolitan international areas. These places were metropolitan international areas. Everybody was doing business here all over Africa. That's where the money was. That's why the cities got big. Trade and trade routes and gold and all sorts of businesses and banks. So think about it. Think about it the same way you look at Europe and how they had all that. We had network too. That's how it worked. Nigeria was a metropolitan mecca. It was full of kingdoms, giant kingdoms, ancient old kingdoms, and tribes and people groups from everywhere. That's why when you go there, you're going to see yourself, right? That's why it's the most populous area. So if you're looking for a wife, you can surely find one out there in the rural areas that will, if you want a super traditional woman, they have all sorts of exotic, different, different kind of Africans out there, and they all look like you, right? And all the, and all the cultural stuff, if you want to experience that as well, will be out there too. Well, so that's how you do Africa. That's how you do Africa. And they're all shaped like the African American women we have here, but probably tighter. Well, yeah, it's original over there, so you'll see. Look, it's more odds are they're gonna be in probably odds are you're gonna have more features and trimmings and fixings over there. That's where it come from. All right, that's what it is. But they are shaped exactly like African American women. And they look exactly like African American women if you were to make African American women cosplay every African tribe, that's in West Africa. If you're like, you pick a tribe and got their traditional dress and you put them on African American, that's what they look like. With shiny or in the sun. So, like that's just the only thing. That is, right? So that's what they look like, but just more in shape. Because they're not as they have the things that we have. We're lazy over here, right? Just like the Caribbean. Our Caribbean people tend to be better in shape than we are because it's not as developed down in the Caribbean as it is here. So they'll tend to be more in shape if that's important to you. But they're pretty much shaped the same way. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. So if you're really interested in all those levels of West African women, that's how it works. So if you're African American, when you go over there to West Africa, you're not gonna go over there and be a god. Like when you go to the Philippines, when you really stick out as a black person, and then you're the exotic one when you go there. That's why when you go to the Philippines, they go all over you. Or Thailand, they go all over you. You go to India, they're all over you. You go to the Middle East, they're all over you. And that's the reason also why the men don't like you in those countries. I don't know if you African Americans knew, or I don't know if African American women knew, but there's actually, if you look on TikTok, there are actually women of other cultures antagonizing their men, talking about how they only like to date and want to be with and have babies with black men. I promise you, there's a massive, like just how we have Pan-African movements and you got FBA movements and you got all these movements, right? All these within just the black culture, right? And, sometimes we don't think that, there's other groups that have movements, right? And there is a massive online, and it's insane to watch as a man. You see all these Indian women talk about how they want a black man. And Indian men, they ain't this and that. And they on there making videos, dancing, antagonizing, and fetishizing the black man, antagonizing and pissing off their own indigenous men on purpose. Arabs too. Arab men hate us because of that. They're women antagonizing with us. That's why when you go to these countries of men that don't look like you, that's why they have places where you can't get in. It's not fair. You're gonna take all the women. You're cool. Even if they like you, it's like, damn, bro. Come on. Why would a man want to go to a club when this one guy is gonna walk in and take all the women? Because he's the exotic one, the big, strong, muscular, dangerous black chocolate man with the massive, you know what, they all believe. But it's really just the fact that we got rhythm. Ain't got everybody pretty much the same thing. Is the fact that we have motion. We're connected to the rhythm force. We're special. And every woman of every country knows it, and they talk about that shit online. That's why when you go to these countries, it's dangerous. Especially when you posting shit online, showing that you in these people's countries, antagonizing their women. That's why it's not smart to go to people's countries and antagonize their women. You know, on camera. Because the men gonna get at you at some point. Because of this thing. I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, go to TikTok, look it up. Alright? But when you go to Africa, it's different. Especially West Africa. West Africa, the men ain't intimidated by you. They like, hey, they look at you as brother. Hey, what's up, man? You know, they want to talk to you. You know, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about, some of them want to talk about books. They want to talk about science, like no bull. I had a guy who was just talking about like geography and stuff. Like he was a geography and he was an English major and he wanted to practice talking English with an African American. It was like an opportunity and he did it, right? And like you'll be talking to people and they just want to have a conversation with you, fellowship, because they have a community there. They don't walk around being afraid of black people like that. You know, they're very nice people. They're not gonna, you're not gonna walk across the street when they see you walking. They're gonna be walking very relaxed, kind of like in the Caribbean, but you know, except for Jamaica. All right, Jamaicans are like us, but you know, some parts of the Caribbean they're very relaxed. They have community, right? So they're not gonna be checking you. So when you go out and party, you have, if the woman is single, even the men will push you on the woman. It's, oh, shoot your shot, so you don't have the pressure of the men. You know, when when you're out in the clubs going for the local women, as long as you do it respectfully, it's okay. They are rooting for you. So that's the day. You don't have that danger. Just don't get disrespectful, because any place, don't disrespect a black woman, a black man's woman, even if you black. And that's just universal black code right there. So you should just already know that, right? So. But that's how it works. But you can definitely find a wife pretty easy. I mean, if you got means, if you have means and you're stable and you actually like own something, because you can't be like a boy over there. You gotta be a man. You gotta have like own a house, you know, because everybody over there own houses. You gotta be able to build a house for a father to take you seriously, because a serious woman's gonna take you to see her father, and her father's gonna prove that. You gotta talk to the uncles, fathers, brothers, all that. They need to know. You know, because family means everything over there. Like I said, like Japanese, very similar, right? So yeah, I mean, but if you're a good guy, you're funny, you're real, genuine, you know, and and you want to have genuine relationships over there, it would be pretty easy for an African American to go to Nigeria and find any level of relationship that they want, as long as they go over there with respect. And I'm pretty sure it's the same with the adjacent countries next to it. But I'm just telling you. And honestly, if you look at the countries next to it, below it, all of that used to be the same. I mean, these are kingdoms of crossing borders. These people are the same people. The Cameroonians or Nigerians are the same people. The Niger and Nigerians are the same group. The same people. Ghanaians, Togo, and Benin, those same people. They're all intermingling tribes and groups and kingdoms. They're all the same people, right? Just split by lines. Keep that in mind. So when I say Nigeria, I'm just talking about the center of the metropolitan area, which was West Africa, Black Bantu, West African people like us, okay? Who just so happen to be over here, and we call ourselves African American. But yes, you can go over there and you can get any level of relationship you want. And so this was just a comprehensive breakdown of what you would experience if you went over to Africa looking for any level of relationship as an African American. That way you don't have to be confused about anybody else, or anything or any drama or whatnot. This was straight up objective analysis of the situation for potential people who want to go to West Africa and get a woman who's different, exotic, may fit your needs, whether you're a country boy looking for a country girl or a city man looking for a girl that got some culture or whatnot. If you feel like you can't, if you just absolutely feel like you can't deal with the American version of the African woman over here, the American portion of that's instilled in the African woman, if you just can't deal with that anymore, you can go get that same African woman with African culture that'll have all the things that you want out of a decent woman and decent wife. All right. So anyway, I hope that helped you guys out. That's all I got to say. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
There's no home without you, no warmth in life without your touch, no flame of love without your smile. There's no home without you, no warmth in life without your touch, no flame of love without your smile. There's no home without you.